Welcome to part 2 of the Orchestrator series. This time Andres and I will talk about workflow, about software, and about templates. So I asked Andres what software do orchestrators normally use and what is his personal favorite.
In terms of software that orchestrators use, in LA, I want to say it's 50-50 between Sibelius and Finale. And I think the most experienced orchestrators probably use more Finale, since it has probably more years in the market, I believe. And I started in Finale, but a few years ago I started working more and more in Sibelius, and now has become my go-to software for orchestrating and arranging. And I think the biggest thing for me is efficiency. I think is way more efficient than the other programs, and it just gets me where I want faster. One other things that I like is the integration with Note Performer, and the playback is cleaner than other softwares, even though the other softwares have their own playback systems. But I think Sibelius is just their playback structure is very helpful, and especially when I want to solo sections. For example, if I want to hear just the woodwinds and the strings, or even just flute 1 and violin 1 for example, it's just very easy to just hear those two instruments, and it just makes my workflow go quicker. And so that's why I picked Sibelius as my favorite software, and now I just do everything in Sibelius.
So personally, I too came from Finale initially and then switched to Sibelius in college, mainly because of its efficiency. I also very much enjoy working with Avid and what they're doing with their new expanded Sibelius team. I just really like where they're taking the software and what they have planned. They even had Andres and I on their main stage at NAMM in 2019 to talk about our workflow and how composers and orchestrators work together on movies. So that was a great experience as well. I'm just very grateful for their continued support and that they understand they have a very diverse user base and they keep making professional products that they keep improving every year. Now, another question that people have been asking was how long does it usually take to orchestrate, say, a 60-minute feature film score?
Well, it depends, because it doesn't take the same time if you orchestrate a score that only has strings and the music is very simple. It doesn't take as much as if you have a score with full orchestra, all the sections, woodwind, brass, percussion, keyboards, strings, and if obviously the music is more complex, let's say an action movie score, obviously it takes longer. So it depends, but just to give you just a quick example, it could take from 2 months to a month, 2 months. It depends really on obviously on the timeline of the project. I would say 2 months is a very comfortable situation, but to be honest, in orchestration and in music preparation, we are the last step before the recording session, so usually it's always crunch time, and so we are always trying to get things done at the last minute. So sometimes you can have only 2 weeks to orchestrate a 60-minute score, and so but that's really typical, just to do a lot of last minute work.
Yeah, I second Andres there. We're usually cutting it really close, which is not ideal, but schedules are what they are. And the problem is that sometimes we still get picture edits until the very last minute, or we get approvals in really late, and then stuff goes really late to the orchestrators, and then it goes really late to the copyists, and chaos ensues. It's more common than you'd think. I usually try to get them started mid-project, but sometimes, we've had projects where everything needed to be done in 10 days and we would get multiple orchestrators in and, just get things done real fast. I even remember times where the schedule was so crazy that we had already started recording, and in the back room they would still be orchestrating cues and still be copying cues. There would literally be, just enough to record for like the first 3 hours session or the first 4 hour session, and then during the lunch break they would come in and just put down new sheet music for the next session. It's easier if you have multiple days of recording, because then you can kind of stagger it. But yeah, we've definitely had multiple scenarios where we would essentially still be in the back room orchestrating and copying and printing while they're already recording in the other room. We even had it once, I remember on Four Enchanted Sisters, I was in Belgium conducting the sessions, and we still needed a song arrangement, and that kind of came in literally the day before I was boarding the plane, so there was no time to do it anymore. And so I would get up at 4 a.m. in the hotel room with my laptop and write the arrangement, and then send it off to the orchestrator. He would basically orchestrate it at 6 a.m. And then while I was conducting, he would make the parts and print it, and then, during a break, he would come in and put down the parts. So that's how it is sometimes. And then, of course, the next question is, how crucial are templates, key commands, other shortcuts to orchestrators? Because we've talked about this for composers. How is it with orchestrators?
Templates, shortcuts, plugins, whatever is, those are things that are going to help you a lot in your workflow. As I mentioned before, usually we are in crunch time when we have to orchestrate a score. And so if you have everything ready to go, templates, and obviously if you have developed a workflow with different shortcuts, it's going to really help you to get to the deadline in a very accurate manner. So you have to focus all your mind power into the music part of your job, and not thinking about like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and oh, I don't have a shortcut, so I have to click the menu and click here every single time. Or I don't have a template ready and the margins always are messed up and I have to fix this every single time. Well, you're gonna spend a lot of time in fixing little technical things, and it's just a waste of time. So it is huge, and it's very important to have your template and shortcuts down and just memorize everything, and so you have a really fast workflow.
I think this really drives home the idea that on professional productions, you're going to have templates, because there's no time for setup. And it doesn't matter if you look to composers or to orchestrators or copyists or mixing engineers, everyone has a template in place that gets modified for each project, but everyone has a setup that's ready to go, because as Andres says, during a project, you don't have time to, fix stuff, to, work on things that aren't the music, but that are, setup stuff. You need to do that before the project. I hope you enjoyed part 2. Part 3 is coming soon, so stay tuned.